What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where we talk about healing, self-care, love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am, I'm Candice Harper, lovecoach.com. And my purpose with this podcast is to create healthy romantic relationships all around the world through self-love, soul connections, and sweetness, honey. Now, right? I love that, Brian. You're like,
Well, you know.
I love it. So we're now partnered with Celebrity Magazine and part of Celebrity TV, which I'm so excited about, which means that from now on, we will be going live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can also watch us later at celebrity.com on Celebrity TV and subscribe to Celebrity TV on YouTube so you can be alerted when we go live. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our audio broadcast, Ask for Candy, on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you normally download your podcasts. Now, you can also email us, askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. And that's for my introverted, my shy people who don't necessarily want to interact on comments, or, they just don't want to out themselves for whatever it is they want to talk about. If they want to join the conversation, you can definitely email me and, let me know if you have any questions or ideas for future shows, all that good stuff. Now, those of you who have been with me not only know that I have a German Shepherd in the background who's going to make noise. I can hear him getting antsy right now. But you also know that for almost 9 years, I have been a relationship coach, a workshop facilitator, and now am a professional matchmaker with Talkified dating service. And if you've never heard of it, it's an amazing digital service where you can hire a matchmaker to do all the sifting and vetting on your behalf. And it's especially great for people who struggle with initiating contact or simply just picking the right partner. That's what I help people do. Matchmaking and relationship coaching are my zone of genius. And the best part about it is that week to week, I get to grow and learn as I interact with people around the most intimate part of their lives. And I get to meet and nurture new clients. I get to screen possible dating candidates for them. And I get to design programs and activities that deepen their ability to get to know each other. And I feel like now more than ever, it's so important that we have opportunities to connect, that we have facilitation for connecting. I feel like, we are living in a world that has become somewhat disconnected with all of the issues that we're dealing with. And I feel like we're longing. I don't know about you, Brian, but sometimes I am just, even though I have people that I see regularly, I am longing for those days of being able to gather and hug people and meet new people and shake a lot of hands and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's getting a little old.
It's getting a little old, just, and this is not to slight the couple little people that I do see on a regular basis. I love them. I know that they love me. But it's like, anybody that you're with, those of you who've been sort of isolated with your family and the only place you're going is work, those of you who are, have maybe a partner, but just one partner, or if you have kids, whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's like, we love them and there's nothing wrong. There's no complaint about it. But, we kind of miss those days where you can get out and hug and connect. So part of what I do is at least try to recreate on some level that ability to connect with each other. And even if it's just digital, and facilitate people responsibly still being able to interact, get to know each other, and start relationships. There are relationships that are starting during this pandemic, Brian. Right?
that COVID close-up, I guess.
It's that COVID close-up. Like, I feel like, I always say this, and I think I've talked about it before, how adversity is just such a good mile marker for whether someone you can be compatible with someone. Like, I think I talked about it either last week or the week before. I talked about how, that's just one, when you're going through some stuff, it's just one really good way to tell if whoever you're dealing with is somebody that you could deal with long term, because it ain't always going to be wine and roses. Right?
Well, when you start out the statement with, dealing with, then maybe that might not be the one.
Right, to begin with. If you're dealing, you're already in the struggle.
The struggle's real, right?
The struggle is real. I'm dealing. So I want you guys to make sure to stick around for the entire show, because I'm about to tell you the exciting topic, but I'm going to share with you the number one question that I ask all of my clients and potential matches for my clients. And I want you to start, even in these COVID times, especially if you are single and trying to start relationships. And I think even if you're in a couple already, because I always believe in couple renewal, like, couples should be dating each other. Couples should be getting to know each other anew every year, every month even, because I feel like we change and evolve so frequently. But I am going to share with everyone the question that I do believe not only leads to a further conversation of compatibility, but will give you so much insight and enlightenment into who a person is, depending on how they answer the question. I'm not going to set you up to be judging people, but if you really want to develop intimate connection with someone, whether it's someone new, someone you already know, this is the question to ask. And I'm going to save it for the end, so y'all got to stay for the whole show. I'm going to hold it out like a carrot.
That Wednesday surprise.
Right. So, last week I was on a bit of a social media hiatus, right? Hurricane Isaias, I think I'm saying that right.
Yep.
It is, right? Isaias. Isaias. It was having its way with the tri-state area. And on Tuesday, it knocked down trees and caused all kinds of power and internet outages. So we weren't on for social media, but that did not stop me from beginning this conversation that we're going to have tonight. So I did record on my podcast outlet a conversation just to intro this, which you don't have to listen to it in order to get tonight, but it's definitely something that's worth, subscribing to the audio after you hear tonight's conversation. So you can kind of see the trajectory, the setup, all of that stuff. Yeah. And I've been yearning and burning to have this conversation. This has been like a hot button thing for me ever since I started listening to some of these other dating gurus. There is a whole circle, Brian, of, and I don't know how much you pay attention to these people, because I feel like once you're in a relationship, a lot of these people you wouldn't necessarily naturally look for.
Mm-hmm.
But there is this whole sort of contingency of fantastic dating and relationship coaches of color who all have their different, sort of characters, their different sort of brands, their different thing that they're kind of selling. Some are like real lifestyle coaches, and it's all about, you want to be a high value person and have your Louboutins and, do all of that. And some of them are very like heart-centered, soul-centered.
Right.
I'm hoping that I fall into that, a little bit more heart-centered, but, no judgments either way. There is a little bit of, I think in the personal growth realm, in the transformation realm, which I think, Brian, you and we talk about a lot and have our own level of being steeped in. Yeah, there's these little, what I call transformation mafias, right? That are, and I know that doesn't sound transformed. I don't mean it as a pejorative, even though, you don't want to be in a mafia, but I don't mean it as a pejorative. There are these little groups, these little enclaves, I think, within transformation, like all the Mind Valley people, right, and all of the Hay House people.
Right.
And, and there happens to be like, like Derek Jackson, Rebecca Lynn Pope, who I'm going to talk about tonight, Stéphane Labossiere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like a contingency of Spirit, who I love. I actually used to work with her on the Bill Cunningham show. That I think sort of round out this conversation of people of color and love and dating, and everybody offers their different thing. They have their different value that they offer. So this week I want to talk about, and I mentioned her a little bit last week, but I want to talk about matchmaker turned personal coach Rebecca Lynn Pope.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Have you heard of her before? Had you heard of her before we started talking about her?
Yeah, I actually, I won't say that I was steeped in everything. I definitely had heard of her.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little late on her, because the stuff that I just discovered is from like 2017, and she, she has this one video which we're going to show clips of. She got like over 1.5 million views on that video.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's no joke. Like, she definitely has a huge audience, and she does say some really prolific things. I really love her just as a coach and a representative, and I love her journey, and I love how authentic she is about her trajectory. And this particular video, this particular video that we're going to show a couple clips from, I think what really spoke to me about it as a matchmaker was that she kind of went in.
Yeah.
She went in a little bit. What she did was, because she was working as a matchmaker for a long time, and I guess she just got to a point where she just was fed up with what that allowed, or what that meant, or what limits there were on what she could do. And so she made this kind of a rant video almost. And it's called "Why Women Have Unrealistic Standards When It Comes to Men." Ooh. Right. And I know there's a lot of, I talk to a lot of single women. I know there's a lot of single women out there who, and I know from my own matchmaking, who don't subscribe to that at all, that it's not unrealistic. They do feel like they are the prize. They do feel like their list of standards are reasonable. I talk to these women every day. I work for them every day. So I get that this is a thing, without marginalizing women, but women, particularly us women over 40. I'm in the group as well. we are often marginalized because it's like, oh, she's just angry. She's stuck in her ways. She's going to be single forever. It's because she's too, I had my aunt once told me that I was too independent. I'm never going to have a man because I'm too independent. Things like that, that is usually the narrative. So I don't want to necessarily have that narrative, because I do think that we are all a field of possibility, but I do want to talk about where this narrative has originated from. So I want to show Rebecca's, a clip from Rebecca's video. The first one I want to show, I'm calling it Expectations, but you know which one I want to show, right, Brian? Yeah. Okay.
Compare men, is he 6'2"? Is he look like Boris Kodjoe or Idris Elba or Michael Ealy? Do you know the percentages of men? This is what I just would die to say to my matchmaking clients and the people that would come in for consultations because they want to be matched. And they're coming to me. I'm sitting here just being a good woman. So I'm thinking these women just want to be married. These women just want a good man. Nah, boo, that's not what they wanted. What they want is, if I'm going to pay this money, I want me a Michael Ealy. I want me a Boris Kodjoe. Well, look, boo, Boris Kodjoe's married. Last time I checked, Idris Elba's taken. These men are such a small percentage of the population. Do you guys understand that for a man to be over 6'2" is less than 3% of the population?
I love it when she says, nah, boo. She's hilarious. And, I love the emotion with which she approached doing this video and how she just kind of laid it on the line. Because I've been there in, talking to clients, and it's not just women of color over 40. I'm talking to, women over 40 in general.
Yeah.
And I've been there feeling that level of frustration, but needing to temper it because I want to be cause for transformation rather than a shamer or to make them wrong or, to get into it with them. Right.
Right.
I understand the emotion. The emotion was very clear. She said that, like, yeah, it's an unrealistic thing. And so also one thing that she points to is how people, they seek out matchmakers and they believe, especially powerful women, and I think women who have the means to hire a matchmaker, there's this belief, I pay my money, I'm buying my match.
Right. Which is funny because it's the same kind of attitude that men have toward women.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I'm taking you out and all this kind of stuff, then, then I own you or it becomes objectified. Right. Like yeah. I'm not paying for a Yugo. I'm paying for a Cadillac or a Mercedes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm buying lobster. I'm getting the full treatment I deserve. But it's true. I mean, as people, we have such an entitlement when it comes to, our investments. But that's where we get into a little bit of trouble because, what you're really paying for, whether it's that you're going to a matchmaker or a coach or, and whatever kind of coach, what you're really paying for is someone to support you in your transformation. And that's where I think we get stuck, is we think that if we're paying our money to anything, that it should be like ordering from Amazon or, from a catalog or something, that the specs should be in order. If I come with my list of requirements, my list of standards, then if there's been money exchanged, then that's what I shall get.
Right.
Is, from what I want for my money. And so, what often happens is a great deal of disappointment and struggle and being in a cycle of, I'm going to be single forever. And, also making ourselves wrong because you feel like a statistic. Single woman over 40, single woman of color over 40. Like how many of us are there? And how many of us are there under the narrative that we're bitter and that we're, our standards are too high and we're walking around narcissistic thinking we're the prize and all of that stuff. So we want to put an end to that. Obviously it's a transformation, it's ongoing. But the reason I wanted to start this conversation is because there is a way out of it. And I believe there's a cap for every bottle. I am at a 10 from 0 to 10 with my belief that even for myself and for my clients and for my coaching clients as well, that that 100% that ideal relationship exists and it's possible. It's just a question of whether we're willing to get out of our own way about it. Right?
I like that. I like
right?
that.
Yeah.
I like for every bottle there's a cap. I like that. That's the first time I heard that in a minute.
Right? I actually stole it from a friend of mine. She used to always, a cap for every bottle. She used to always say that. But I believe that to be true. That people want to go into the statistics and all of that stuff. But then you also have to break down, if you're going to approach it statistically or scientifically, you also have to break down all the different situations people are in, who's viable, who's not viable. So if we get too mired in that and make that the story, then that's going to be what we experience, right? If I say, oh, there's no good men out there, all the married men are taken, that's going to be my experience. But if I'm willing to say that there are some fantastic men out there that may not check every single box, but might be great partners, might be someone great that I can build with, that I can grow with, then that's going to be what I can experience. That's going to be what I can create because I believe it, right? Yeah. So later on in the video, which I think she'll touch on a little bit in the next clip that I have from the Rebecca Lynn Pope video, she talks about how we're so conditioned to believe that our love history, she didn't put it this way, I am paraphrasing, that our love history is basically a collection of do's and don'ts, right? So we think, okay, I've been through this, I've been through that, so let me make up the rules as I go along. And we think that's us learning from our mistakes, right? Like, I'm going to make up rules based on what I've experienced. So I had a client who actually said to me, my ex-husband was an engineer and, we had a really bad time. So I definitely don't want to be matched with an engineer. And in fact, she took it even further. She was like, not only do I not want to be matched with an engineer, but my father was a lawyer and I know I can handle lawyers. So if you could find me a lawyer, that would be ideal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like that, those things have nothing to do with whether you're long-term compatible, right?
Nada.
Yeah. But I get it because I definitely am somebody who had a list that was based on the history that I had and the do's and don'ts that I came up with based on that history. Like I was creating the conditions for my love life. And I'm always preaching about unconditional love. But this is how we create the conditions that get in our way, right? So if he doesn't come under these conditions, if he's not 6'5" and like Rebecca Lynn Pope said, looking like Boris Kojo, making six figures, and it doesn't say words that remind me of my father, or like we just come up with stuff, or has a certain kind of job, or lives on the east side rather than the west side, is only 20 minutes away as opposed to 40 minutes away.
Wow.
Just all the things that we could possibly come up with. That's something that I used to do myself, and it's something that I have used and definitely failed with. So I want to play the second clip that I sent you, Brian. Okay.
So my compromises came because I had these standards, just like most of you, that were way up here because I had all these experiences that created an appetite. It created a false standard in my life of what I thought I deserved or what I thought I needed. But yet it was a false standard because none of them were men of God. None of them were Carrie Pope. None of them literally had their values. They weren't good husbands and fathers and brothers. They don't take care of their mama. Literally, these men lacked all the values that really matter in a marriage.
Yeah, so
wow.
Right, I love her for, and if you get a chance out there, if you're listening, get a chance to look up this video on YouTube so you can watch the entire thing. But she's talking about the experiences that created an appetite, she said in that clip. So, and having her own come to Jesus moment about compromise and what she had to give up in order to meet and recognize her husband as right for her. And I think that's another thing that, we as modern women, especially modern women in our 40s, us Generation X's, child, we are something else. When it comes to our level of emotional toughness and, we believe what we believe and how we want to stand on it and stick with it and see it how we want to see it. But, one thing I think that we resist is that idea of compromise, surrender, submission, giving up on, this idea that someone has to fit into your parameters or fit into your picture. I'm not saying compromise yourself as a woman. I'm not saying that we have to weaken ourselves, or because I think that's what we associate it with, what we associate compromise with. It's not about weakness. It's just about compassion. It's about understanding that we don't check anyone's boxes 100%. No one does.
Right.
We're meant to connect and love each other and grow together. That's what we're built for. We're built for being a support for each other. We're not built to come in automatic perfect alignment after a meet cute and have everything be perfect because we're everything that the other person thinks that we're supposed to be. And I think.
Do you think that that's part of that whole Cinderella thing too?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I mean, it's just, little girls are taught the Cinderella story and that, there's gonna be this prince who comes along and sweeps you off your feet. And it's taught that, you deserve the prince based upon certain parameters, right?
Yeah.
Which is what Ms. Pope was talking about, which is, and that the parameters that you're talking about have nada to do with the failure or success of the relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right about that, Brian. And the interesting thing about that is that not only do we get that strong message of, your happily ever after and what needs to exist for your happily ever after, then we start to go through our adulthood. And, by the time we're women in our 40s, we've built up a history. And so then we have all the multi-layers of not only having had an expectation, but then having that expectation disappointed, and then having to protect ourselves and survive, any further hurt, get ourselves through that hurt, and then figure out a way to protect ourselves from any future hurt.
So this is like you're taught this story, you believe that this is what your life experience is supposed to be. You don't have that life experience and you get disappointed, but instead of going back and reevaluating what was going on, you stick to the story and you say, well, I'm just going to tighten up these parameters. Maybe that's the issue, right? So instead of the engineer, a lawyer, right? Living in this place, making this kind of money and, looking this way.
Totally.
Do I get it? Did I get it?
I think you totally got it. And here's the thing too. It's like the sticking to the story is because the conditioning is so deep. The conditioning is so, this idea we grow up as little girls. And the conditioning is so deep, not only that, and I think the savior thing is kind of over when it comes to in entertainment, you don't see that as much anymore. Even in Disney movies, it's not always about the prince saving. In earlier Disney movies, but ones that come out now, it's not always about the prince saving and things like that. So I think, that what it really is that there's that deep level conditioning. And then when the world begins to disappoint, or it's not that the world is disappointing, but that the expectations are not met and reality starts to take over, then, as human beings, and I think men do it as well, we go into our survival mode. And how do we protect ourselves from, disappointed over and over again? Most of us, the way we know how to do that is to somehow take some level of control, and that's not necessarily, being in control is not necessarily an avenue for actually having real connection with anybody. As a matter of fact, it's not an avenue for having any real connection with anybody, right? Yeah. So she talks about, Rebecca Lynn Pope, later in that video, she talks about letting go of her financial requirements. Like she had to, in order to meet and have a solid relationship with her husband and be able to build with him. And, they do have a great relationship. And, as far as the optics, And as far as what they're building together, she had to let go of financial requirements because, you know, his financial abundance and her financial abundance ended up being a product of them working together and building together, right? She had to let go of height requirements. That she talks about later in that video that she was dating ballers, you know, guys that were tall and, you know, but those are also the same guys who had a ton of women after them and no interest in being anybody's husband. And that's not to say that that's true of every tall man, obviously not. But all these women who are out here wear the height requirement, and I'm one of them. Don't get me wrong. You know, I will date a man that's my height and maybe a little shorter, and that for me to be able to say that is part of transformation, because I went most of my life that a guy could get away with a lot if he had some height.
Really?
Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, right? It's hard to imagine me in my transformed state, that there was a time that, yeah, a man who was tall enough could get away with a lot in my life. Yeah. And so, you know, I talked about, you know, when I did the audio recording last week, I talked about being raised to be a wife. And me and my sisters were raised to be wives. That's what we were taught to be. And in as much as I know what it takes and, you know, what's to be done, because that's what was modeled for me, I rebelled against it my whole life. And I did mention about how most of that was because, and my family is a married family, like everyone is married in my family, even an extended family. But I didn't have any women in my family that are examples of happily married, satisfied and married. Mm-hmm. So, and this was when I was young, something I observed. So, you know, I rebelled against marriage for most of my adult life, but still walked around with those hard standards of, you know, he's got to meet this, he's got to meet that, he's got to meet this. And then I had to learn, well, he meets this standard, but then all this is falling apart. So clearly that doesn't work. So how can I control it even more? You know, it's a multi-layered conundrum. I think that, you know, for a lot of women, myself included, you know, you wake up and you find yourself feeling kind of like a statistic, or it's possible to wake up and find yourself feeling like a statistic. And in order to combat the narrative and really have a real conversation, you know, what I wanted to do was talk about how it's possible to have a love chrysalis. To be right.
That's nice. I mean,
it's,
you know,
nice, right?
A little transformation going on.
A little transformation. Another thing that Rebecca Lynn Pope said, that she had to accept her calling to be the partner to a man of God, which was something she used to say, I'd never date a pastor. And I'm not advocating or pushing anybody towards that, but, you know, it's because it's not everyone's calling, but we all have our own when it comes to finding romantic partners that align with our purpose. So things like that. In short, she had to recrystallize and transform who she was being in order to attract and create the love that was right for her. And so this is what this is about: recrystallizing, transforming who we are being, because it affects everything. It affects us physiologically. You know, the medical industry will have you believing that your estrogen is going low when you're in your 40s, just because that's just what happens. And that's not necessarily the case. There are cultures where women are much more in touch with their femininity, their feminine energy, and their estrogen doesn't deplete before it's time. Like they do go through the change, because that's natural, but they go through it a lot later, and their estrogen doesn't immediately start to deplete in their 40s. But Western medicine will have you believe that that's the case. But when we're willing to crystallize and transform, even our estrogen levels are higher. And Dr. John Gray says that high estrogen levels are required in order to feel love for a man and have attraction to masculine energy, which I thought was very interesting. Don't you think that's interesting, Brian?
Yeah, I've heard that as well. And that there, like you said, there are, you know, it's a paradigm shift, right? Where you're, this is a taught thing, right? In psychology, we talk about, you know, nature and nurture, right? That there are two parts to the puzzle, and that both of those together have psychological effects, not only on the mind, but on the body as well.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. And I'm such a huge believer of the quantum physics of belief and how that affects our bodies, right? If I believe that getting old means getting sick, or if I believe that, it means that I'm going to deteriorate or, not be able to function, then that's exactly what's going to happen. Like the body listens to the mind and what we tell
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
It's scientific. It's actually it's theory, but not theory. It's scientific theory, not like a theory like, oh well, I'm just going to think about this.
Yeah.
There's actually been experiments about how what you think about quantum material changes that material at the quantum level. I mean,
Yeah.
it's stated. I mean, I could go into a whole bunch of things, but yeah, I'm a believer too.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, we talk about the recrystallization, and I know that for a lot of women out there, it's like tired of it, tired of feeling like, oh, why am I the one who has to change? Why am I always the one who has to work on myself? Why is the onus on me? And it's simply because if we want to attract evolved, elevated people, we have to be willing to evolve and elevate, right? People who don't want to change or grow will continue to get what they've always gotten.
Wow.
And it's not that it's only on women, but if you want a man who is evolved in his life, you can't be sitting around waiting for him to come when you have no interest in evolving or changing or accepting that even in later years in life that transformation is not only necessary but that it's available. Like that idea that you're an old dog that can't learn a new trick, not serving anybody.
Do you think though too that because I've heard this on the male side as well, right? Well, why do I have to do all the work or whatever? That is a way for people to stay stuck in where they are because it's familiar, and maybe there's some fear in there. Everyone, we have a little bit of a technical issue. I'm gonna wait for Candy to come back online. Just stay tuned.
People have a posture in which the shoulders round. Some people have a belly that came from long hours working in a computer. Driving, grabbing your baby, the posture changes with your lifestyle. So we have to reprogram our posture in order to have a better lifestyle. So what is important here to know? Our work, the house of our body, with the roof here, the diaphragm, with the pelvic floor that is the ground, and the whole core muscles are the walls of the house, have to work properly in order to have a good posture and a good movement.
Watch Body Fit with Alexa Marine every Monday and Thursday at 9 a.m. right here on Solidity TV.
That was crazy. We lost connection. You know, I blame Hurricane Isaias. Isaias. Am I saying
Hey,
that?
look, this is a live streaming show.
Yeah.
Anything and everything can happen, y'all. But we appreciate you still sticking around. So
Yes. Hopefully you're still with us or jump right back in with us. Do you think with Brian with the Facebook shares, do you think it'll just come back? It looks like we just came back, so that's good.
yeah, we've been streaming. We haven't stopped.
Awesome. All right, cool. Yay. I'm back. All right. So yeah, like I was saying, we're talking about allowing love and abundance, whatever that looks like for you. The Love Chrysalis, how women over 40 go from lonely to in love. And so this is not necessarily a get a man conversation. Obviously, I'm going to have to do it with velocity because now our hour has gone by really fast. But it's a let's get our love lives right conversation. So, you know, we want to attract and allow from love, from being filled up and ready to overflow with, you know, feminine energy onto someone who's ready to receive and reciprocate it, right? Enough with trying to, you know, overfunction and overdo with someone who's not ready and not knowing how to recognize that and not knowing how to attract that. So this show is all about truly understanding that our love lives are not a consequence of the state of manhood.
We appreciate that.
Yes.
On behalf of all men.
We need to stop blaming men. We need to stop saying that, you know, because men ain't shit and all of that stuff. Our love lives are not a consequence of the state of manhood, the state of dating, or even the state of the world. They are a product of our long-held beliefs. And if you believe like I do that your beliefs create your reality, then let's talk about what it means to allow our chrysalis. And let's do it together. Let's do it together, ladies.
Woo!
Right? Over across lands, we can, you know, join connectively through osmosis and allow our chrysalis. So tonight's list is short, but it's meaty. I only have 3 things that are the most important things that are that will support all of us in transforming from being alone to being in love. And by in love, I mean, you know, if it means that you're at a place where you need to just be in love with self right now, it's that. And if you're at a place where you are in love with self and you're really ready, you feel really ready for that partner, it's that. Whoever that partner, whatever that looks like. Narcissistic place, not from that, you know, I am the prize and he got to work to get me placed, because I don't think that that's good for anybody, even if you're in your 20s. Like that idea, not that you shouldn't find yourself valuable, but to attach it to how someone needs to treat you or behave with you is narcissistic, right? So you have to show up and show me how important I am, and all of that stuff is not, being attached to that is not healthy. And this is not to gas you up thinking about your value as a woman over 40. But the 4 things that I mentioned that I believe people are confused about is that, you know, when you're a woman over 40, there are 4 things that are not your main value: what you look like, what your accomplishments are, your fertility, or the amazingness of your vagina. Like, I'm not saying all those things can't be great when you're over 40. I'm not saying that, you know, you can't still have some elastic. I'm not saying that you might not still be able to have some kids if that's something that you choose to do. I'm not saying you need to give up all that stuff because you're over 40, but those aren't your golden tickets. Like, you know, when it comes to looks, you're a woman of a certain age, you might be gorgeous, but there's going to be some 25-year-old where everything is tighter and righter. So, right? Am I wrong about that?
I will not comment.
Right? And when it comes to like our accomplishments and our degrees and things like that, accomplishments and degrees are very, very important for purpose alignment. They're very important for who you are as a human being. They're very important for your own fulfillment. Men who love you will support you in them, be happy for you, but they also don't give a shit how accomplished you are as far as whether they fall in love with you or not. Like, you don't sell a man on loving you because, you know, you won so many awards, or, you know, you have a PhD. Like, that kind of stuff might be interesting to them, and it might be friendship stuff, and they might find it kind of cool or respect you for it. But that's not the kind of stuff that causes emotional connection and love and that kind of like juicy, like I see you as someone that I want to be with. It just isn't. And a lot of times as women over 40, we have accomplished a lot and we like to lead with that. You know, I have people that I work with, clients that I work with that are lawyers and neuroscientists and physicians. And, you know, I because I'm this thing, I should be able to have the man I want. But that's so not the case. Because first of all, you got to eliminate the men who are intimidated by it. And that's a small contingent of men. Then the men who do respect it, they respect it. That doesn't make you sexually attractive to them. It doesn't make you chemically attractive to them. It doesn't make you emotionally attractive to them because it doesn't really serve how it makes them feel to be with you. So that, you know, I think most men who are powerful are kind of indifferent to that sort of thing, or they think it's great, they respect it, but it's not like, oh, it makes me feel good that you were able to win a Pulitzer when you were 38 before you met me. Like I don't think that they see it that way. What do you think, Brian? Am I making that up?
No, I think that it's, you know, depending upon the man, right?
Yeah.
You know, if it's an educated person, they might be like, wow, that's really, you know, they might find it interesting. Yeah. But that can't be it.
Yeah.
That can't be it. You know,
like it's not the selling point.
No, it's I'll put it this way. It's an entry. It can be used as an entry point into further discussion about the depth of who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good point.
You know, I mean, okay, wow, okay, it's an indicator of what's possible, but it is not the end all. You know, I've dated women who've led with that, and then that was it. Like, yeah, I'm this person, and I'm looking for somebody similar, and that's it. I mean, like, it's all about ambition and job and, you know, from that point, what can we build in that realm?
Yeah.
But it's not the other stuff that I'm pretty sure you're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I have a list. I always got a list.
Oh, yes.
And you can tell me, you know, if you agree, co-sign, and if not, you can tell me, Brian, if you think that it's true as well. When you think of your own, if you have single male friends, which I imagine that you probably have a mixture of like married and single, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So here are some things that I really believe are up for is going to be the thing that attracts love into our lives. So, you know, the wisdom of age, you know, also comes with a level of understanding and compassion as it pertains to others, right? So that understanding and that compassion, that empathy, that being able to see other people's experiences and, you know, treat people in a way that honors that they have a different experience. That's something that comes with maturity and understanding. And so being able to cultivate that in yourself is something that attracts and connects to love. Like being able to say, you know, oh, I get it. Like let's say you're talking to a man who is a single dad because, you know, maybe his wife passed away. Oh, we lost the connection. So I'm going to repeat it again. The wisdom and the understanding and compassion, it comes with the wisdom of age as it pertains to other people, the empathetic view. I think that is a big selling point for women over 40 when it comes to love and connection. The fact that you can have empathy, you can understand, you know, what another adult is going through, whether they're a parent or whether they're, you know, whatever it is that they're going through, career stuff, you can get each other on that level. So, you know, that also goes with your emotional maturity. And, you know, when we're willing to cultivate that, we understand that patience is required to deal with other people. We understand that it's not always going to go exactly our way. And I'm not saying all women over 40 understand that. I'm saying that when you are over 40, these are the things that you want to be cultivating and understanding and transforming in your life to get to that understanding. That's, you know, the point of all of this, so that you can have that loving connection. Our ability to partner up and collaborate and trust on things. Like, you know, you get to a certain age and you've worked enough jobs, you've had enough career, you got enough friends and family that you know how to partner up. Whether you do it all the time or not is a whole nother story, but that's the thing to look at. Am I so controlling that I don't trust others, that I don't collaborate? You know, when I'm in my 40s, by the time I've gotten to that point in my life, right, that's the time when that stuff becomes a little more inherent if I'm willing to allow it. Right? I mean, I'm definitely somebody, I'm preaching to myself, because I'm somebody who, even though I've had a lot of collaborative work in my adult life, not much of a collaborator until probably the last 10 years. And even then, it's still a journey of learning and trusting other people and, you know, being able to partner with people. But that's what comes with maturity as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking a little bit about that earlier offline. I think there's something that I've heard from my friends who are women that is not talked about generally, but that they say that once they become enlightened, they're kind of like, and it goes to the second one that you're talking about, and that is women are taught a lot of times that men are to be controlled.
Yeah,
they don't know
that's
what's
so
good
true.
for them. They're basically animals.
Yeah.
They're not smart. They're ignorant and all that. And some of that is true to a certain degree, but it's also true for women.
Yeah.
And that they you know, they go into the relationship or the potential relationship thinking that they're the end all of knowledge around how this relationship's supposed to work.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
You know, and that
I've done that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that ain't true.
Yeah.
You know.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And I think that's, you know, because I run a healing circle on Monday nights, and, you know, that's the conversation we get into a lot, because women, you know, we tend to take on that narrative of he didn't do right. He didn't do it like I wanted him to do it. I had a plan. I have something in mind. So now I had to set my boundaries. I had to lock it down. I had to do this. I had to do that. And you're right. It's all about that misunderstanding that the way it's going to work is if I can control it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a saying that I was told a while ago, and I'm losing it now. But oh gosh, it's kind of like the same as, you know, what's mine is what's ours is mine, and what's mine is mine.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing.
Totally.
You
That's
know,
old. That's
here it is. I remembered it now. It's the saying is, we are one, and I'm the one.
Did I lose you again?
Yeah, we lost a little bit. So everybody's still hanging out. I love it. It's all right. You know, you have storms coming through a little bit.
Well, there was storms earlier, and I think it messed with the connection outside.
Gotcha. We're hanging tough with you.
Yeah.
But did you get what I said?
We're hanging tough.
Yeah.
I didn't. I missed it. You cut out.
So everybody else got it. So I'll repeat it again. So the saying is, you know, we are one, and I'm the one.
Oh, I've never heard that one, but it's right on the money. It is right on the money of that attitude. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So, you know, I have a few more too. I just don't like, this hour goes by so fast.
I know.
Another thing I think too is, right, another way that we are valuable as women in our 40s is our femininity and self-expression. So if we allow it, which, you know, I feel like a lot of times, you know, with my clients and with women who are still in that space of trying to get all their boxes checked, they're not allowing it. But when we allow our femininity, our feminine energy, our self-expression, you know, when we are in practice in our lives of doing things that raise our estrogen back up, like I've been doing things like, you know, taking belly dance classes and, you know, doing yoga, because that's a somatic way to raise your estrogen, and being sort of in touch with, right? In touch with my feminine side and my emotions, and allowing my emotions, feeling them, talking about them in a way that I take responsibility for them, but that I can talk about them, sharing authentically. Those are all feminine energy things. And men can do them as well, because we all have feminine and masculine energy. But I think we sometimes default to masculine energy. And it goes back to what you were talking about, Brian, with the control thing. That wanting to control it all is a very masculine energy way that causes usually a lot of bumping of heads in a relationship, right? And it also is very off-putting. Yeah, and for someone who comes with masculine energy, you know, like a man who comes into your life and has masculine energy, or is healthfully in his masculine energy, if you're also in your masculine energy, it's very off-putting. It's not an attractor. You know, there has to be that opposition of the feminine and the masculine in order to have love attract, right? So there's that. Then there's also women in our 40s, our physical health and wellness. The physical health and wellness piece, right? It's so important because yes, we are women of a certain age, and so there's that factor, but also it's what supports you with the chemicals in your brain, your hormone levels, all of that stuff, your sexuality, still being able to find attraction. You know, we think that attraction is something that, you know, because someone puts something beautiful in front of us, we think, okay, because we appreciate it, it's that beautiful thing that's causing us to feel what we feel. But really, it's what we believe about the beautiful thing that causes us to feel what we feel.
Preach.
What's that?
I said preach.
Yeah. Right? So, you know, when you meet a man and you're like, and this happens a lot with people that I match, I didn't feel the chemistry. There's no physical attraction. There's no this, you know, because he didn't check all the boxes. We have to be willing to look at, what am I believing about what my match is supposed to be that has it that I can't be physically attracted to anybody? Like when you've gone out with like 20, 25 people and you didn't feel any chemistry or sexual attraction or physical attraction with any of them, you want to be able to question yourself, like, what's going on in my mind that I can't find that anymore? And it's not because of age, it's not because you're old, it's because there's a belief system that we develop over time. And if we're not cognizant of it, if we're not aware, it takes over and we stop being able to be attracted. If we decided, you know, we don't have the motivation of, let's say, wanting to have kids, like women in their 20s, their early 30s. So then that's a motivator to stay in a belief system that I'm attracted to other people.
Right.
But once you're older, you don't have you don't necessarily have those motivators. And so it is up to you to generate, you know, what do I believe is attractive? What do I, you know, I think when a guy is funny, it's very sexy. It's very sexy if a man is funny. And, you know, he doesn't have to look like an Adonis, right? To be funny. So it's
Hang on, everybody. She'll be right back.
He's going to be wonderful. And that match is what's going to make you happy. What I'm saying now might be like ridiculous for you. But if you understand that your participation is required in your own happiness and fulfillment, and you want to transform your life in that way, then what I'm saying is something to support that. This hour goes so fast, Brian.
I know.
Maybe I have two more.
Okay,
two more things.
Go for it.
And then we're going to close out. So healing the past. I talk a lot about healing the past. And we talked earlier about coming up with a list of do's and don'ts based on what we've experienced from the past. And then we try to construct our list of standards from that list, right? So, and I also talk a lot about forgiveness. It's not just forgiveness, because I think a lot of women in our 40s, we understand what forgiveness is and we've done it, or we feel like we've done it. It is a big component of healing the past, but it's not just the letting go of the resentment. It's also letting go of the behaviors that I adopted based on how I felt victimized. So we develop that list. We develop these behaviors thinking that they are going to be the thing to like help us through, and that they're going to be the thing that's going to, if we tighten down our standards around them and come from a fear-based place, that's going to have us have somebody that gives us a different experience. And we're so wrong about that. So that's how we have the past dictate the future, is by using the past to inform what we're looking for in the future. That's exactly how we end up repeating the past in the future. And then the third one is turn your standards into core values. That list of requirements is only going to be an effective list if it's a list of unattached core values that we ourselves are lining up to. So if I say I want connection, compassion, and support and all of that stuff in my life, if I'm not living that every day as core values, I'm not going to attract that like I want to. It's not, it's not going to show up for me. And that's why I say that our love lives begin at single. Our love lives begin alone. And we have to stop thinking that whoever we meet should be amazing and just take us as we are, with our resentments, our complaints, our excess weight, our stories of victimhood. He's supposed to be amazing. Just take you as you are. You better just love me as I am. You got to think about, if things like compassion, joy, health, communication, family are important to you, then those are the things to be focused on aligning with, especially as a woman in your 40s, aligning with those things in a healthy way so that you can attract them in another person. What we focus on grows. So if you are busy focused on the dumb stuff and focused on the money and the standards that don't foster connection as a woman over 40, and like Rebecca Pope said, thinking you deserve a 10 when you're a 6. And I don't mean that to be harsh on anybody, but we got to understand that no matter where you are in life, there's going to be imperfections about you. And as you grow into life more and more, if you're willing and honest about it, I have things in my 40s that I did not have in my 20s that came along with the life that I've experienced. I'm not going to tell you all of them because everybody don't need to know my business.
Oh, come on, Candy. Tell your business.
I can tell you, I've dealt with some money issues that I'm recovering from. And, I had a hell of a lot more hair when I was in my 20s. Like there's just things that we build up over our lifetime. And when we love and accept those things about ourselves and we get okay with those things and, turn our value where our value lies and focus on that, that's what we get to grow and attract. So turn those standards into core values. And I definitely want to make sure to share the question that I mentioned earlier at the top of the show. But first,
here we go, y'all. Here we go.
But before that, I do want to make sure to let everybody know that this Sunday morning, I'm facilitating a workshop all about this chrysalis, and I'm really going to deep dive into it. We're going to do exercises and everything. It's going to be a full coaching session along with the Spirit of a Woman Development Center as part of their Wake Up Everybody Transformational Series. That is on Sunday morning, and I will put links. I should have given you the link, huh, Brian? So you could put it in the Chiron.
Yeah, but is it going to be? It's going to be on your website, right?
It's going to be on my website. I'm going to also try to go around and put it in the comments of the posts of wherever this video is.
Yeah.
But and it's free. So on Sunday morning, and then there'll also be replays. And I'm going to go through the full curriculum of this Love Chrysalis.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And so here's the question that I ask all of my clients. I ask all of the matches, and I believe
hang on, everybody. She's just got this, a little bit of internet disconnection here.
That person deserves your time and attention, at least to explore what's possible.
Okay, we missed the question because the internet kind of phased out a little bit. Can you repeat it?
Oh, no.
I know. We're hanging with you. We're hanging with you.
Right, you're hanging in there with me. The question is, what are your core values? Yeah. In other words, what is really important to you? And we ask that question not from a place of judgment, from a place of I'm connected with mine and I want to hear yours to see if there's alignment.
Wow.
And if there's not, it's okay. But if there is, that's somebody that's worth getting to know further, exploring where it could go.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah. Do you like that? And you can ask somebody you're already with.
Mm-hmm.
Because the core values, they can evolve and change. And
you may get a surprise.
You might get a surprise. You're like, oh, I didn't know that's how you felt. Yes. But I guess I got to close out now, don't I? We're right at time. Are we right at time?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I like it whenever you get to plug what's coming up with Solivity TV. I know we have different shows. You guys got to go to solivity.com, find out all our shows. There's so many great shows that are out. D'Angelo's show, Javier's show, Francesca's show. And I know there's a lot of great workout shows and stuff. Check us out. Instagram at Ask for Candy Podcast, at Candy Love Coach, at Solivity Magazine. Follow us. And Brian, thank you again for another great week.
Absolutely. This is
I love
always
you so
fun.
much. Yeah, I'm so sorry about the internet connection thing.
It's beyond your control now. I mean, everybody was hanging out. I love everybody out there. I love our community.
I love you guys too. Thank you for hanging in there with us. And, we'll check out the replays. Feel free to leave your comments. I will come back and interact with you should you choose to do so. But until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. And if you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make some more and ask for candy. I love you guys. Bye.
Thank you for watching Ask for Candy with Candice Harper, right here on Solivity TV every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Solivity Magazine brings you the best in inspiration on Solivity TV. Check out our new shows. Mark your calendars for Solivity Magazine shows by going to solivity.com.